Welcome back to Friar Talk, everyone. We are recording this on Thursday night, right before football starts. So hopefully, looking forward to an exciting football season. We're going to be going live on, I think, pretty much every Sunday. We'll kind of figure that out in the next coming days. We're going to be talking about football. Going to be doing that kind of every Sunday morning, like we did, I think, 2 years ago. As the Padres, season is kind of dwindling down, playoff hopes are going away. We're going to talk a little bit more about the MLB, stuff like that. I think tomorrow we're going to put out an episode on playoff predictions. But for today's episode, we're going to talk about the Cy Young race as a whole, and specifically Blake Snell being the leading candidate to win it right now. As we know, Spencer Strider, Justin Steele, they're in the race, but Blake Snell is the main guy. And Blake Snell's a favorite right now. He's expected to win. He leads the league in many categories. And I just want to bring up before Isaac goes, my bold prediction for this year, Isaac, was that Blake Snell would win Cy Young. So it's looking pretty good right now. I'm excited about it. I kind of thought like contract year Blake Snell is going to turn up. That's what we've seen. He started out the year really bad, and for the past 4 months, he's been the most dominant pitcher in baseball. Just briefly going over his numbers before you get into it, he leads the league in terms of opponent batting average and hits per nine. He strikes out a ton of guys. He also leads the league in walks. So he's been the most unhittable guy, but he does allow a lot of guys on base. But then he's super clutch, and he leads the league in ERA. So overall, Blake Snell's been great. He still likes to leave guys on base. That's that whole thing that's been his whole career, but he has had an extremely dominant season and has been the brightest spot on this Padres team that has fallen way below expectations. So Isaac, heading into the final 3-4 weeks of the season, are you expecting Blake Snell to take it home?
Yeah, that's going to be the only thing that I'm kind of concentrated on regarding these next few weeks is is Blake Snell going to be able to continue this pace, especially going up against the Astros and the Dodgers next? Is he going to be able to close it out and secure that Cy Young? Because I feel like the only argument for Justin Steele is that he doesn't walk as many guys as Blake Snell. But the question becomes, yes, or you're like, the answer and the question is like, sure, Blake Snell walks a lot of guys. He always has. That's always been his thing. He walks a lot of guys. He used to. His problem back when last year in the first half of the season and the year before in the first half of the season as well was that he would start the game and he would walk a lot of guys. He'd only go 4 or 5 innings, and then he'd progress as the season goes. So come July, he'd turn into the Blake Snell that we're seeing right now. But we've gotten that version of Blake Snell since May. He started off a little slow, but ever since then, since mid-May, beginning of May, he has under a 2 ERA. I think it's like a 1.61, 1.51. So he's been the best pitcher in baseball ever since then. It's really not even that close. He's definitely been. I mean, this is one of the best pitching seasons I've seen from a Padre. It's the best pitching season we've seen from a Padre since Jake Peavy, and he won the Cy Young that year. I believe it was 2007 or 2006. That was the last guy to have the lowest ERA as a Padre. He won the Cy Young, and I think it's going to be the same thing for Blake Snell. He looks so good, man. I mean, he leads the league in K per 9, strikeouts, ERA, pitcher's WAR. He only 13% of balls that he throws gets put in play by far. I'm pretty sure it's by far the least amount of balls in play from a pitcher. So, I mean, per AJ Cassavell, he wrote an article about Snell's chase for the Cy Young. And I mean, all the accolades that he's racking up. It's the one thing he states was that Blake Snell's job is to prevent runs, which is exactly what he's been doing despite all the walks. He's pretty high in base on balls per 9 or walks per 9, but that's okay because he doesn't allow the runs. He used to get punished for I keep stuttering, I'm sorry, but he used to get punished for allowing so many walks, for putting so many guys on early in the game. Back then, if he put that many guys on early in the game, he was getting taken out by the 4th. Now he's doing it a little bit, but he's still able to go 6-7 innings, and it's pretty consistent. So even when he wasn't having very good outings in April, they weren't really that bad. They were pretty damn close to quality starts. It'd be like 5 innings pitched, 3 earned runs. But going back to what AJ Cassavell was saying, he leads the league in NL batting average, leads the NL in batting average and OPS against. That's obviously one of the more significant stats when it comes to pitchers' production. He's been the best in that regard. And then he ranks second in strikeouts and first in hits per nine. So this is a pitcher that's been dominating all season. And no matter who he's gone against, it's been like the Orioles. He's gone against the Dodgers. He's gone against some really good teams. We've had some tough stretches. No matter what, he's been the one guy that consistently produces day in, day out. Every fifth start or every fifth day, he's producing. Yeah, the Padres aren't doing good right now, but I know that it's not because of Blake Snell. Blake Snell is probably the reason that we have quite a few of our wins. So when I look at the Cy Young race and I look at the odds, it should be Blake Snell at the top. And by the end of the year, if he continues at this pace, hopefully he does, it should be him holding up that award for his second Cy Young. And hopefully, I mean, there's going to be people that say they don't want him back in a Padres uniform. I get it, because odds are he's not doing this again next year. And I understand if you don't want him back in a Padres uniform, because yes, that's quite the likelihood. But I want him back in a Padres uniform. Everything I've seen from him, dating back to the back end of the season last year, from July on, he's been arguably the most dominant pitcher in baseball. And yes, we probably will get first half Snell again if we re-sign him this upcoming year. But it doesn't really matter to me. When he's going from July onward, he's able to pitch some of his best baseball in some of the months that are that's when we need him the most, in those back end of the months. But I keep stuttering. I'm sorry. I'm trying. But yeah, man. I mean, I hope Snell wins it. I think he will.
Yeah, and I think you're right there. I mean, you look at like kind of in terms of like ERA, whiff rate, stuff like that. He's number one in the league in pretty much all of those categories. Strikeouts, Spencer Strider, Justin Steele is like home runs, and he doesn't walk a lot of guys. You brought up the walk rate. So walks through 9. Snell has 5.2 walks through 9. For comparison, Steele has 2 walks per 9, and Spencer Strider has 2.9 walks per 9. So insane difference right there. But the thing is, if you don't allow hits to have guys brought in, that's what helps. And the other thing, kind of looking into these arguments, I think this is going to get brought up a lot, because like if you're looking at a case for Justin Steele and Spencer Strider, it's going to come down to kind of categories that you shouldn't win for. That's my thought on it. So for instance, wins. Blake Snell his record's 12-9. Steele is 16-3, and Strider is 16 and some. I think I forget how many losses he has, but he has 16 wins as well. They have more wins. Guys, we're at the point where we know that wins are not a stat to look at pitchers like that heavily. Now, I think to just not look at them at all is wrong, because you have to go deep into games. You have to keep your team in it. And if you have a dominant start, then a terrible start, or a dominant start and a terrible start, and you're not really producing, that's one thing. But that hasn't been Blake Snell. That just hasn't been his year. So he shouldn't get knocked for having less wins, though that is going to be the argument for Justin Steele. Now, you look at Justin Steele, he's a much more like safe pitcher. He doesn't allow the home runs. He doesn't walk as many guys. He allows many more hits, but he has about the same innings and he has about the same ERA as Blake Snell. It's like I think there is a case for him. Now, I don't think Spencer Strider is really in the race anymore, because Spencer Strider has almost a 4 ERA at this point. So that kind of goes out the window. Now, he is going to have a ridiculous number of strikeouts at the end of the season, and it's still a fantastic season. He's probably going to be in Cy Young races. He's probably going to win a Cy Young in the future. However, it's not. I don't think it's going to be this year. But if you're looking at how Justin Steele could win the Cy Young, it's going to come down, in my opinion, to if Blake Snell blows up in the next 2 starts. His next 2 starts are going to be against the Dodgers and the Astros. So a week from now, if we look back and we go, Justin Steele's probably going to win this one, it's probably because Snell got rocked in 1 or 2 of those starts right there. And I think that's the case, because I want to say the Cubs, like, they don't have like any like crazy competition. I know they play the Diamondbacks quite a few times coming up. They are in a wild card race. They're also a team that's going to make the playoffs. I also don't think that's going to sway the vote too much when you're talking about such a thing that, like, if you're a starting pitcher, you're playing 1 out of 5 games. Like, you're not determining how great your team is as much as other positions even. So if Snell leads the league in ERA, in whiff rate, in hits per 9, he's way up there in strikeouts. He has more innings pitched than Justin Steele. He has more WAR than Justin Steele, and he only has less wins. I don't think there's a case. However, we could see that flip. So that's the only way I don't see Blake Snell winning it. I think these are the 3 guys that are going to get consistently brought up. I know like Kershaw was kind of in it earlier on in the year. He got hurt for a while. So there's just guys that aren't involved in it anymore. But these are your 3 top candidates right now. I think that's the case for Justin Steele if he was to win it. But right now, I think it's pretty clearly Blake Snell. And if you look at most odds, most things have him at like minus 300. So a pretty substantial favorite this deep into the season. So that's kind of my case for the other guys, just in case something was to happen, and mostly just my case for Justin Steele because I don't think Strider's in it anymore. But Isaac, any closing remarks or thoughts on if Blake Snell could get upset in this award?
The only way I see it is if he gets rocked by the Astros or the Dodgers. Otherwise, I feel like Justin Steele has to have more of a significant run from here on out than Blake Snell does. Ever since May, he's posted, like I said, he's posted 1.31 ERA, and he's allowed 0 or 1 run in 14 of his last 19 outings. You're penciling in a guy for 6 innings and 1 run or less every single outing, basically. So I don't know how there can be an argument against Blake Snell, considering the numbers that he's been posting, and the only reason his numbers are like that, which is still a league-leading ERA, is because he didn't start off the season like he is right now, like he's pitching right now. That's the only reason. Otherwise, if he did start off that way, he'd have one of the best pitching seasons in all of baseball history. So the only reason it's not that way is because he struggled early on a little bit. And the version of struggle that I'm talking about isn't even that bad. Like, go check his numbers. The worst it got was like 4 or 5 innings pitched and three earned runs. So I mean, he's been fantastic, man. I mean, just from the eye test, you could tell that it's such a change from last year's Blake Snell. This year's Blake Snell is able to get himself out of jams that, last year he wasn't able to escape. Last year he would get himself in a jam and he'd be done in the 3rd or the 4th. The year before also, especially from April through June, he'd be out by the 4th, 5th inning. We were glad to get 5 innings out of Blake Snell back last year and the year before that in the early months of the season. Now we just expect 6 innings, and we know we're going to get it. That's the thing, is every time Blake Snell's on the bump, we know we're going to get 6 innings. We know we're going to get 1 earned run or less. We know that he gives us the best chance to win every 5th day. So this is maybe a little biased, but the numbers are there. All the numbers are there. Yeah, I mean, sure, Blake Snell walks a lot of guys. Despite walking a lot of guys, he still has more innings pitched than Justin Steele. So if we're talking about just innings pitched, the problem with Blake Snell in the past few years was that, he doesn't pitch that many innings, max 150. Still pitching more than the next leading candidate, despite these walks. So it doesn't really matter if he's walking all these guys because he's getting out of it rather fast. He's getting out of it super fast. Because back then, if he walked a lot of guys, he'd be at 100 pitches by the 4th. Now he's still going into the 6th despite having such a high walk rate. So the numbers, like you said, Matt, the numbers that people keep bringing up that kind of validate Steele's case, they don't really matter that much. Wins, I feel like we're past the times when wins mattered for pitchers. I don't know. That's just me. Like, I'm not going to completely disregard the stat. Like, you need to be able to have around a 3.3, 3.5 ERA and be able to go 6 innings each time if you're winning that many games. But a lot of that's just so dependent on your offense. The pitcher cannot control what the offense does. And I know that because most times when I see Blake Snell pitch, at least up until this past time he pitched, past 2 times, they give him a run, 2 runs. They leave a bunch of guys on. So everything that Blake Snell has been able to control outside of the walks, he's been fantastic in. So I don't really think there's a case against Blake Snell, man. I mean, when you got a guy that has the amount of pitches he's throwing, only 13% of them are getting put in play. He scrapped his changeup the past 2 years. He brings back his changeup, refines it, and it's under 200 batting average against right now. His 4-pitch mix is the best 4-pitch mix in baseball right now. His slider is better than his changeup. His fastball is one of the best fastballs in all of baseball. So this is a pitcher that is throwing the best season, in my opinion, in baseball, especially in the NL. So like I said, I don't think there's quite an argument, and Cubs fans, of course, will argue it and use the walk statistic as the reason that Blake Snell doesn't deserve it. But I mean, this is honestly one of the craziest seasons in baseball, and like pitching seasons in baseball, considering the past few seasons that he's had where he's consistently like high threes, low fours ERA. That never told the whole story because he was always better in the second half than his first half numbers indicated. Second half, Blake Snell is one of the best pitchers in baseball. But now he took second half Blake Snell the past 2 years and turned it into a full season. So, I mean, you look at this baseball savant, it's all red, man. Pitching run value is in the 100th percentile. So I don't really know what else to say, man. I mean, you look at Justin Steele, his expected batting average is a 242. It's the 50th percentile. So there's definitely some luck in there. Expected ERA at 3.42. That's not Blake Snell's page. So
hey, Blake Snell's expected ERA was worse.
Was it really? Oh shit.
It's because walks value a lot into that.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, I get that. But like I said, the walks, they don't turn into runs. So that's been the most impressive thing about Blake Snell this year.
Yeah, and I think one thing to bring up too is like, I hope no one takes it as us like knocking Justin Steele. Justin Steele's been an absolute monster. We're just talking about who is the best. And like when you get into that range, it's like, all right, well, what's the argument for the best to the second best pitcher in the league? Which is, I mean, Justin Steele really turned it on this year. Last year, just, I mean, I feel like he's a little bit older. He didn't get called up right away. He's 27 right now. Last year, he was solid, but like low 3 ERA, under 120 innings pitched. And this is really his coming out year. So, I mean, I brought up that Spencer Strider is going to be in the race again. I think there's a lot of reason to believe Justin Steele will too. I mean, you looked at his baseball.
I don't believe it.
You don't?
I don't. Not at all. I don't.
You don't think he has the stuff or what?
I feel like this is a classic. This random guy out of nowhere has his one really, really solid season. Maybe the Cubs remember Jake Arrieta, but has one really solid season and then he's done for. I don't know. I don't see it again. Side note, it's Thursday. We're recording this on a Thursday. It's Thursday Night Football. I hope you guys enjoy the football season because this Padres season was super rough. Outside of the guy we're talking about today, which is Blake Snell. Fantastic pitcher. He's been amazing. Outside of that, there's not been much amazing stuff. So I'm excited for football, and I'm excited that we're going to have these Sunday streams again. I'm excited that we're going to talk about the MLB as a whole. I definitely need to do some more research on that because I thought this late into the season we'd still be talking about the Padres in the playoff race. I didn't think we'd be talking about the MLB as a whole because we can't talk about the Padres in the playoff race. So I definitely need to do some research on that. But yeah, I don't see this out of Justin Steele again.
Yeah. Well, guys, thanks for listening. I think that's probably going to do it. Justin Steele, final note. Isaac, I was looking into this stuff. I mean, I think you have a fair point. The whiff rate's not really there. The K rate's not really there. 3-pitch mix. We've seen that. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully he continues to play well. But so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I think that's our overall thoughts on this Cy Young race. Pretty solid one, and I'm happy that I guess my take on Blake Snell looks like it's going to pan out, which is good. My other takes on this Padres season didn't exactly go that way. So, at least there's one that's going to hit there. But I think it's going to do it, guys. So have a great night. Like Isaac said, enjoy the football season. I think we're going to be going live Sunday morning. We'll confirm that. I'll put a post on YouTube or something like that. But looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. And have a great night. And see y'all soon.